All right, hello and welcome to day 2 of the Season 1 Championship Tournament. I'm going to be joined by Restart Gaming today for the cast, and for a bit of talk show, pre-game talk show, we have Sog, the one and only league commissioner, Septimus, a fellow Shackcaster, and James Kitsu from, aka Kitsu, from Tryon. So how's it going, everybody?
Going great, man.
So, Restart, what matchup are you most excited about today?
Well, obviously, I'm most excited about this first matchup to start off. We don't know how this is going to end, and we've got a great group of players for our top 4 teams here. But game 1 is the almost undefeated Trash, mostly undefeated except in one tournament game, but undefeated through the season, against JSC, who has swept through these preliminary rounds and looks absolutely ready to play their hearts out. And I think that this right here is going to be as hype as the finals, and you're going to see just an excellent match no matter what. So I am absolutely ready to watch.
Just Shoot 'Em was actually the team way back then to take the game off Trash. Trash's lineup was a little bit different back then, but they were the ones to do it once, so I wonder if they can do it again.
If at any point in their game they can do it now. They're looking really sharp. If you guys caught the games yesterday, and if not, go back and watch them. Man, that was some sharp plays. I especially liked they used Gremolition really well in combination with some Helio plays, so he didn't have to get the Wombo off himself. They're adapting to the game and the meta as it goes on, and that may be the difference here from previous matchups.
Yeah. So, James, I want to know if there's like one particular freelancer you desperately want to see played today. Who would it be?
Well, I know you want to see Titus played.
That's obvious.
It was really fun watching some Oz, and I'd really like to see another Oz take a chance at Oz and play him really well, because I think he's a little bit underrated.
Oz, what do you think about that, Saw? Do you think Oz is underrated, or does he need some changes? Do you think he just needs the right hands to make him shine? Zog?
I think that when you look at your options for picking in a draft situation, that there are very few times when you think, I really want to have an Oz, and those times could potentially include when the other team has two supports. Just like Hacksaw was saying in the post-game interview yesterday, where they like Gremolitions because against 2 supports, you can't just focus one target. You need to make sure you're hitting at least 2 every turn. And Oz does what Gremo does there, but he also does really good single target damage for when you have to focus. So in that situation, I think that's where you think, I might want to pick up an Oz if Celeste is already taken, because they do similar things there.
Yeah. All right, so Septimus, what was your favorite matchup yesterday? I want to know that because there were so many good games. Can you think of any particular one that really stood out?
Well, to me, honestly, Just Shoot 'Em versus Whiteheart was just incredible. Unfortunately, because of some technical issues, I didn't get to watch all the way through with the Outplayed and Cookie Cutter set. But from what I understand, those were very excellent as well. But Just Shoot 'Em and Whiteheart, I think just the use of the combos like it was done. And honestly, I had never really seen or even thought, hey, why not bring 2 abilities to bring follow through with these combos, which is apparently what the kind of things these teams are thinking out, and that's just really impressive to me.
Yeah, I was really impressed by that, where they brought the potential for the black hole wombo combo they always see from someone jumping in, but they also, as a backup, had brought Gremo, who could just as well knock people through the Helio wall when maybe their dashes weren't up or their cooldowns weren't quite reset from dodging the previous black hole. So that's the sort of thing that you don't see in just rando play. And that you might just, even in just if you're duo queuing, you might only be with your friend, like, let's just try and do this one wombo combo the whole game. But that's risky, because if you try it and it doesn't work, you just wasted a whole bunch of cooldowns in the process.
Now that's going to be put to the test today, because if any team is masters of positioning and won't be caught out of position, Trash, I mean, if you saw the last week of the league, they just put on a masterclass of exactly how to play 4 different classes in exactly the right spot every move for all 20 rounds. So you're not going to catch them out in a bad spot against a lot of those combinations that you get and get those opportunistic hits. You'll definitely have to plan for and be on your game.
James, what's your favorite match or map for these matches to take place on? Because I know Flyway is pretty much only favored by Trash, but you see a good mix of Evos and Cloudspire. What do you prefer?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Evos, I think, is my too. Flyway just.
You're cutting out a bit, James.
But Evos is definitely the one
right.
I like seeing. So.
Yeah, I like Evos because it has so many weird angles and spots to hide compared to Cloudspire that can lead to more just, straight front-on clashes with kind of wonky spawns. You never know what's going to happen on Cloudspire.
Yeah, on Evos is definitely a very different map than a lot of the other ones. Cloudspire, you've got kind of a smaller version, but still that same open center, same ratios, just shrunken down really from Freighter. But man, oh man, Evos has, with that long corridor and really a much different layout than the other ones, can cause some big changes, especially for players like Nyx and a few others that really like long, straight corridors they can shoot down.
Yeah, I think Evos brings out strengths in other Lancers that aren't really there on different maps. For example, Zuki can be really strong in Evos because of all the weird corners that, with the right use of Zuki's AoE on her basic, she can just shoot right around and still do damage to people still do non-cover damage to people she normally wouldn't be able to if it's just a head-on attack.
Also, a lot of tight passages, so Celeste Smoke sometimes blocks off whole sections of the map at a time with just single bombs. It's pretty crazy what she can do to vision on that map.
So, Sog, you mentioned it before. If you had to give advice to people in the draft phase, what would it be? Because that's being talked about as a really important part that some teams don't always handle so well.
I think the most important thing is to understand what you're leaving available for the first pick, and then what you're leaving available for picks 2 and 3. And then you have to have a way. You have to plan for how you're going to pick around that. Like, if you're going to leave Lockwood open for the other team, it's very likely the other team is going to take Lockwood. But what are you getting from letting that happen? So every pick is a trade-off. And at each stage, you have to understand how you're going to fill out your lineup and understand what you're giving up as options. But I think there are dozens of viable compositions, as long as you know where you're giving things up and where you're really taking the strengths back.
Yeah, the thing that surprised me about yesterday was how often Celeste made it through picks and bans without even being touched. Like, she wasn't banned, then she just would make it through all the picks for other firepowers. Septimus, do you think that's because she got nerfed, or because people are just more used to handling her, or they want more comfort picks, or what?
Showtime. Well, I just think that after the nerf happens, Lockwood obviously went back to being the top tier pick for firepowers, and then on top of that, you have other Lancers like Rask, which just are a little bit safer to ban. In fact, I believe most of the matches we saw yesterday consisted of Rask and Lockwood as being bans, and I think just if you're going to look at the overall view of what would you not want to play against, typically it's going to be either Lockwood or Rask, whereas Celeste, while still being powerful, doesn't have the same versatility on every single map like those two characters.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, I think we're about to get into picks and bans, so I think that's going to be signing off for you guys. Any last words from the people who joined us for the pre-show?
Yeah, good luck, everybody. Have a good day.
Yeah, enjoy the show.
Yeah, thanks everyone for playing.
All right. Well, that's going to just leave you and me restart.
And hey, I'm ready. How about you?
I am so
How about
ready.
Chat? You guys ready for our top 4, the best 4 teams in Atlas Reactor, played through most of the alpha, a lot of the beta, and now we're at 4 teams that are ready to compete for $1,000 in prize money?
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
In these semifinals, all the teams, if a team wins this match, they're in the money. Getting this puts you in first, second, or third. So there's a lot riding on these two semifinal matches, and I'm really excited we're starting with Trash versus Just Shoot 'Em, who we haven't seen.
And that's got to put the pressure super high.
Yeah, we haven't seen these teams clash in a while either.
No, we haven't. But both of them have been playing extremely strong lately. There's not, any big weaknesses in the plan. Nobody, picked up a player that's weak or anything. They've both just been improving up to this final showdown.
Yeah, and it looks like already the map pick coming out from Trash. No surprise, Flyway Freighter. We know they love it. And Just Shoot 'Em right away, going to take out that gray option. She's really strong on Flyway because vision is so important on such a big map, and they don't want Trash to have the opportunity to, reveal people, have the drone wherever they want, any of that nonsense.
Which probably leads me to believe there might be a Pup or a Nyx coming out, both very strong in this map. Both can appear out of do damage from nowhere when you think you're safe, and it really makes Catalyst use just extremely hard to predict with those two stealth champions and no big counter. But Rask coming out as the first pick for Just Shoot 'Em, and then Lockwood for Trash. No big surprises there.
Yeah, both those, they were snapped up like that. There was no considering. No team had to discuss, gee, do we take Rask? And, when you give up Rask, you pretty much know you're giving up Lockwood. And when you get Rask, you're giving up Lockwood. So I'm wondering who Trash is bringing for their second pick. Still a lot of really strong firepowers. They might want to get their hands on Dr. Finn. We know Safiel is a pretty big fan of that character.
And I think that might be why that this one was taking a little bit longer, as they pick up Asana, just going with a safe frontliner. But Helio, Lockwood, Rask, all very common. Gray's also common in the early pick bans, but she kind of gives a hint to your strategy. And that's the first big decision point they had is, okay, the other ones we all planned for. What's going on with Gray? What do we do to counter this when they banned it? What are they going to pick? Exactly as they talked about in the pre-show. What's available, and what do we need to do?
I can almost hear Safiel just cringing a little bit, seeing his Finn taken away. So now we're looking at Trash's pick. I'm interested that they went Asana for their second pick, even though Just Shoot 'Em already picked Rask. But they might be protecting against Just Shoot 'Em, trying to go a double frontline pick to force them off one of the higher tier front lines and get them on someone they might not want to play. But a Celeste coming out. So there she is. She didn't make it through this time. Lockwood Celeste is the firepowers coming for Team Trash. That's a scary duo.
And with Asana as well, those are all three characters that can bound around and do damage around corners very well. So it looks like they might be trying to play the sides of the map. They might be going just for the straight center. But these are characters that really, really shine when they've got cover and corners to work with. Not so much the straight line of the Nyx and Rask.
Yeah, and Just Shoot 'Em coming out with that Nyx that you mentioned. They got Gray out of the way, don't have to worry as much. And following up the Gremo, super strong on Flyway, hides behind walls, has a ton of range to cover wide area. Both teams actually have really strong drafts right here.
As we expected of these teams, these are both fine-looking teams. I really love the Quark pick. I think it's great. They showed great skill with him last time, and one of the few teams that actually did really well with him in the league themselves. A lot of people tried, some faltered, but if any team is at home with Quark, that would be Team Trash.
Oh yeah, they're at home with most of the characters in the game, most of the freelancers. It's hard to
That's absolutely true.
It's hard to force them into a pick they aren't comfortable with against someone like Trash, but it's really hard to pick just looking at this, who wins the draft phase. They both have so many high tier characters, and this is so exciting.
These are both teams that can perform excellently given any circumstance, and it's who's going to position better, who's going to force a situation to favor them. When you see the Finn, the Rask, the Nyx, you've got some great line of sight damage, and Gremolitions can work wonders in the center, and we saw Just Shoot 'Em do some amazing things with Gremolitions. On the other side, Trash has three different characters that can all shoot around corners, over cover, can bounce around, can get out of line of sight pretty easy. So they might not be looking to square up in the middle, or maybe they are. Asana is also supremely tanky with a Quark next to her and a shield on, and just every time you're shooting her, you're taking damage, she's getting heals. It is a rough matchup. So they've got a lot of options there. I think that I love the options that Trash has. Slightly better, but it comes down to gameplay, absolutely. No, I don't think anybody won this pick ban phase.
Yeah, I think the scariest thing that Trash could do is if we have the Might Quark ult and suddenly you have a Mighted Lockwood and Celeste, and that's so much burst damage that even a Rask will have trouble standing up to all that much burst damage. And that's what you got to do to Rask. Just Shoot 'em got a really strong frontliner pick, and Trash is going to have to be careful to not just pick away at him, to burst him down when they need to, so he can't just regen, re-alt, and just be the pain he wants to be.
You throw haste on him and you run, and you can pick up a couple health power-ups in just 3 turns and come right back at almost full health. And you're absolutely right. Going back to that Quark Might, one of the strong things about Quark, and especially Might on his ultimate, is it sometimes frees up freelancers who want to take Might to take Turtle Tech. Combined with a Quark ult, and now you have Turtle Tech instead of Might because you're getting Might for Quark, you make your team a whole lot tankier while still keeping that damage. So that is an option we're probably going to look out for, especially with 2 high-power firepowers. You're absolutely right in that one.
And going into this low screen, I like the Trash got the matching banners. I'm not sure what's going on with just Garrison's face, but at least they tried to match. I appreciate that.
Now, how cool would it be if that was different parts of Garrison's face and it formed a solid?
Like just a portrait of Garrison?
Yeah, all together. They had different sections of his face. But anyways, we're getting into the game here.
All right. Let's get things started. This is game 1 of the semifinals of the Prep Phase League Championship Tournament. These teams got to win best of 3 to get into that prize money, and here we go. But wow. Nope.
Just a quick movement phase. Everybody's charging up to the center. They've got Blue taking a more aggressive stance with Rask out in front.
The team's not wasting any time. It looks like we're not going to be much of a hide and seek. Their teams are already really close to clashing, and they're just going to get right up in each other's faces. That's what I want to see. I don't want to waste time with hiding around and trying to poke away at each other. Get right in it.
And that's where we're seeing some strong movements and early abilities. Nyx is going to take a chance with his trap first turn and just wall off the middle of the map. Carradin's covering the cover with his mines. It looks like Wololo tries to grab the mic but doesn't quite hit Hacksaw.
Wow. Just Shoot 'em. Not actually. None of them move that turn. They want Trash to be the aggressors. They want them to come into their phase to fight them. I think I've heard this before. The attackers are almost always at a disadvantage because you go in deep and then they all just turn on you. So Just Shoot 'em really doesn't want to be the ones caught out. They want Trash to walk into the Grem mines, Nyx traps, let them be caught out. And Trash might fall for it, but I expect them to see this coming.
Vision is tough for both teams right now as heals come out for Sophia just in case Celeste gets hit. Nyx can hit you from anywhere. It does look like the miss comes out from Awesome Sauce, but Anatomical with his range able to connect on Celeste. Carradin is, as the broadcast goes out, Carradin misses with the mines, and look at the movement from Avaki to dodge it. Unfortunately, no hits there, but that is some smart movement to predict those mines.
And you saw it come out from Craner too. Both those mines just daintily stepped around them. They know what the predictable path is, and they refuse to use it. But now we see Hacksaw splitting Trash in half, cutting the backline from this frontline duo. Let's see it with Avaki and Craner kind of caught out, surrounded by the enemy team. This is the time that Just Shoot 'em needs to really collapse on them and deal the damage.
And we'll see if they can as they start this phase. Craner is going to shield up, seeing multiple enemies around him as Nyx goes unstoppable just in case he gets rooted. Some more healing on Wololo just to build energy. Sophia will have that ult pretty early. Looks like a trap going down right about where Gremmo wants to be. And they did predict the root, so thankfully Gremmo will not be, Nyx will not be stuck where he is. Awesome Sauce getting a wide bit of energy on both Craner and Avaki as Carradin hits perfectly with these 2 mines, takes a little bit of damage in return, and Anatomical taking some damage but slowing the enemy team. Unfortunately, he'll be going through a trap as well. Rask doing a little bit extra damage to Avaki, and a lot of damage coming down that turn.
Yeah, Avaki already sitting dangerously low, but on the other side, Atomical not exactly healthy himself. He avoided the root, but then stepped through the trap. So you saw Trash had layered levels of "we're going to hurt this Nyx," and now Sophia really needs to catch up to Avaki to get that heal started. He's took a lot of hits that turn, and that's not what Lockwood wants. He'd rather be much safer than he currently is.
Thankfully, that unstoppable kept him from being in the middle of the enemy team, so a bubble here should keep him safe. He's going to go invisible and just get out of dodge here, but not before he leaves a trap, slicing the enemy team in half, making sure one of them runs through it. It looks like neither one is, though, as they split the difference, expecting that Craner's going to dash in, and Avaki's going to get to the center of the map, which is pretty safe right now. Explore from the Gremlins. It looks like Safil's going to try and predict a movement, not going to hit it, and Wololo doesn't have range, but Hacksaw does, and double knockbacks on Wololo to keep them in the right spot. You have to calculate that combination to figure out exactly where they're going to end up.
I love how close Crater came to hitting that trap twice without actually crossing it. He dashed right up the line, and now he's just right at the top. And meanwhile, Avaki dashed out. Normally, dashing to the center of the map, not the best idea, but when the enemy team's kind of grouped up towards one side and you want to get your heals up, good idea. Hacksaw is able to pick up that health pickup on Ras, so it's gonna be a while before they're able to burn him down.
Yeah, it's absolutely important to realize that while your preconceptions might be middle of the map dangerous, you have to consider where the enemy team is and figure out what is actually dangerous. It looks like they are switching their healing, so it looks like that Lockwood will get up in power pretty quickly. Carradin's going to throw down the mines to just keep him low, but Safil should be able to take care of just mine damage as Cranor takes a little bit of damage from both Awesome Sauce and Anatomical. That shield backup will reflect even more, but the double bubble basically prevents most of it, and he's looking fine.
You know, I'm just now noticing Trash is all pink. You know, they got the matching skins too, and Wool there, popping a second wind, falling back, decides that Celeste doesn't want to be that close to her Rask, and just kind of disengages, leaving the rest of the team to hopefully deal the damage they need. You know, it feels like Trash, let's look at the scoreboard, yeah, Trash has been taking more damage than they've been giving so far. Let's see if they can turn it around in these upcoming turns.
Lots of dashes being planned, and it looks like maybe somebody canceled one or two. We'll find out in just a moment. Safil just keep healing away these overcharges, doing massive work, just trying to keep Avaki alive. The power of Quark and his topping the heal charts. As an eel goes out on Craner, that'll bounce around for a little while. Avaki returning the favor with a little bit of damage, but it is through cover. Wololol is just picking up power-ups at this point to stay high. Anatomical hits from the corner of the map, bringing Avaki super low, and Safil's healing was not wasted so far.
Trash is surprisingly on their back foot this whole time. You know, they really did go into Just Shoot 'em, and Just Shoot 'em is punishing for being the aggressors. Craner and Avaki looking super low. Wolo was forced out of the fight for a couple turns. He needs to get back in there. He has been doing a good job of still gaining energy by picking up all these power-ups. So really using that Celeste ability to his advantage.
Avaki's going to pop Turtle Tech, and with Safil next to him, he'll be just fine. Just a regular 22 health, the everyday business for Safil, as Crano dashes out of the way to get behind Carradin, knowing he doesn't have Split Up. He should be fine. Awesome Sauce will whiff no matter how wide he sets that, and so will Hacksaw. Carradin's going to hit Avaki, but nobody else right now, so he's just going to set up in case Avaki re-engages. He's not going to do that. Anatomical taking the shot, and Wololo just picking up more power-ups. There are not going to be any power-ups left on this map anytime soon, with Celeste just roaming around the outside.
Wololo is not in a sharing mood. Now, Craner, wow, Craner, normally that's not a spot where you'd think they'd be sad to be as a frontliner, but when you're only at 57 health with your team so far away, Craner could be in serious trouble right now, and Avaki still hasn't been able to recover. You know, even with a Cork attached to him, Just Shoot 'em's been doing a great job of keeping him low, constantly poking away at him to negate the healing, and Wolol hasn't dealt damage in a few turns now. He's really got to get back in there.
Looks like he's going to come close this turn as Awesome Sauce does some healing. It looks like they expected Craner to ult out, but he's just going to turtle second instead, so he'll be safe in a potentially deadly situation. Safil keep pounding away with the healing. Wololol again, double power-up pickup. He is not leaving any on the map as he closes in. Avaki manages to actually do some damage, as well as Hacksaw being in a trap. He'll take a decent amount this time. Carradin's going to do a little bit of damage to Craner, and Anathomical's going to do a lot more, but still at 40 health and still with his ultimate, he should be safe next turn. Safil was knocked back as I tried to break the tether, but planning for that, Avaki moves even closer.
Safil was actually knocked back to the square he planned to move to, so not too much in the way of bad things there. Now, we're looking at Safil, does have that ult. You know, Craner and Avaki sitting low, but probably not for long. Wolol now in position to start throwing out the hurt, but is on the opposite side of Just Shoot 'em from the rest of his team.
Now here's the question, where do you think Cranor is going to go if you're the enemy team? We'll find out in just a few moments. It does look like he was targeting Awesome, but Awesome figures that out with a shield himself. Cranor says, yep, you were right, as he comes in. And he'll be shielding Wololol as well as blocking some damage. Safil's going to heal him first, though. Important to note the abilities phases as prep phase heals go before dashing. so he'll be even higher when he goes to fight the enemy. Wololo getting a big 3-person ultimate for 50 damage apiece. Hacksaw's not going to get anybody in his, but is going to get all the cooldowns reset in the center of the map. Awesome Sauce's bubble does some damage, but doesn't break the shields. Same thing, Keratin against Wololo, but here's an ultimate from Anatomical to get 2 people. Avaki's kept low, even with the mass amount of healing coming down. A big throw from Hacksaw puts Celeste pretty far out of position, but still has both dash and catalyst.
Looks like Avaki thought he'd be. I think he assumed he'd be at a higher health. Wasn't expecting a Nyx ult, but I just want. Wolo was gone for so many turns and then came back and dealt an easy 150 damage in a single move. Now we're looking at teams grouped up once again in this corner. We always seem to see the action on Flyway devolve into just this one corner of the map, and all the teams ults are coming up. You know, it's turn 11. This is really when things start to swing one way or the other.
Yep, some ultimates used even already, but some left available. It'll be interesting to see who holds on to him. Looks like a Stealth Nyx is going to go out in the open to get a little bit better vantage points as he sets a trap for anybody following. Is pretty low. Feels just healing Avaki. It's all he can do to keep him up as multiple dashes come out, but it looks like Avaki's ultimate not going to hit anybody. Let's see exactly where this target is for Awesome Sauce, and if it does hit somebody, it will catch Wololo, so coming in the fight, doing massive damage, taking massive damage, under half health now.
So the fight seems to have split into two. We have Wololo and Craner versus Hacksaw and Awesome Sauce, and Avaki and Seth versus Keratin and Anatomical. So the fight's split in two. Avaki's just, his ult did manage to hit just Anatomical, I believe, but he's still just so low. They've been punishing him for every time he tries to re-enter the fight. And over here you have Finn and Rask, is not a duo you really want to be going up against.
It looks like Turtle Tech finally coming out for Sophia. Turtle Tech very popular today. A little more healing on Avaki, but it wasn't boosted, so let's see if he does try and actually tether an enemy this turn, as Cranor tries to root Rask now that his dash is down, keep him away from the team. It does look like Keratin's going to be hit with a big tether, and he's going to get a little bit of mining action down, but with the high health, even Athonical's damage doesn't take him below 3/4 health. Cranor's going to be thrown away, so while they say we're going to root Hacksaw, we're going to leave Asana away from our team too, and the teams are even further split.
So Wolo and Awesome Sauce both using their flashes there. It's a bigger win for Trash that they got Awesome Sauce to use the flash, because flash on Finn means he's just out of options when it comes to escapes. Hacksaw kind of tossed away from the fight, no one really near him. The team really split apart. It looks like it's time for them, the team, start picking one target to burn down instead of just poking away at everybody.
Safil back to his massive amounts of healing, going to get Avaki probably before switching to Crano pretty soon, and he set himself in a perfect distance to do that. Unfortunately, Keratin did break his leash, and it does look like Anatomical is going to leave him out in the open with a slow. Hacksaw taken down to just 4 health thanks to that trap. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like he's finished down, but Avaki taking down Nyx with a nice spray, and Wololo in a good position to take down Hacksaw this coming turn.
Wow, so turn 13 First Blood, and it's not even a hide-and-seek match. These teams have been clashing since the beginning, but we do see Trash take First Blood. Hacksaw is pretty low, but he is a Rask that just picked up a heal buff, so we'll see how long he actually stays at low health. With Awesome Sauce completely disengaging, wanting to heal up, wanting to get ready to run back in and help his team as much as he can without being caught out with a lack of flash.
We've got to watch out for that massive Keratin all coming out, but it looks like Turtle Techs and shields for both of the frontliners on this one. Safil does try and leash to their frontliners, so they're going to heal them back up now that the taunt goes off for Gremolitions. He's going to try and take the enemy team back down, but Safil is targeted on the right person and does have some good heals coming down. Wolol doing big damage, so is Avaki, but Hacksaw pounding out some massive healing with that Turtle Tech to manage to stay alive.
Didn't you know? Death in me are mates.
It looks like having some Discord problems, but hopefully they can work through it. We can't really pause the game or stop it now. So Hacksaw still was only at 4 health, but he is getting healed up from both himself and the health pickup. Awesome Sauce in position to support, and looks like Keratin is the next target for Team Trash.
Yeah, with Keratin with no defensive cooldowns, this could be dangerous. We'll see. Awesome Sauce does do the bubble on Hacksaw together with his healing, should be fine, especially since the enemy team moved away from him. Keratin's going to exploit to try and do some finishing damage before he goes out in a blaze of glory. Wololo going to throw some smoke bombs, but not actually hit Hacksaw with them. Safil's going to tether to Keratin, but it's not going to last long as Cranor actually does the final bit of damage. A nice combination there. Crano will be knocked in place as a parting gift there just to keep him out of the fight.
5 turns
Trash
left.
picks up
Stay
another
focused.
kill. You know, now that the teams were so spread out, but Trash is finding these people and just picking them off one by one when they're not grouped up to be able to have the support of the rest of their team. This fight has really broken off again. Wolo once again just kind of taking a break from the battle, biding his time for a big swing to come back in. And looks like Hacksaw ready to just start causing the pain now that he's healed himself up a pretty healthy amount.
A big spray from Finn as they have the wide heal. Safil is great at single target healing, but that may be what I've seen Wolo hit in the background. If they have more than one person down at a time, they can only heal one back up, so somebody has to hide. Hacksaw dashing in with the bubble will do massive damage to both Safil and Cranor as Cranor comes down from the combined damage of that and Anatomical. Looks like a cooldown reducer, brain juice coming down from Awesome Sauce for these final 4 turns.
So a surprise death coming out for poor old Craner there. You know, I don't think they realized how close Nyx was for that shot. Well, I say close, but it's Nyx, so he doesn't have to be close at all. And now Hacksaw, look, I'm guessing he wants to go chase down that little ball of radiation there and show him some pain.
Yeah, they're definitely trying to focus on Quark left as next, as he has no self-healing, but he does have a dash where he can get up and out of the way. A trap going down, and Nyx will miss as Safil does dash out of the way. Hacksaw's not going to get any damage on him either. It looks like Wololol still claiming all the power-ups as his own. Anatomical has a miss. Avaki hits his target, but with cover damage won't do much. Awesome Sauce just trying to get some opportunistic damage, won't get it, and the teams will reform up and try and face off.
You remember that turn when Hacksaw was at 4 health?
Time
has not yet come.
That wasn't even that
I
long
do,
ago.
but he's playing Rask, so I don't remember it too well because it never stays for long.
So it looks like Trash has managed to regroup with a nice spawn coming in from Craner. The teams are once again, you know, at a front. It's not all mixed up. And we're going to see if Just Shoot 'Em can press this advantage they were able to gain right now with getting some of the players low.
Anatomical doesn't want to do more cover damage, so sets out his trap, hoping to get more than that. Safil's ultimate probably going to keep most of his team alive this turn, even though Hacksaw is dashing through doing damage to 2 members. Avaki still pretty much at full thanks to all this healing. Does miss with the bouncing shot, just cannot cover every square, and more movement coming out, trap triggered by Cranor.
That trap giving Anatomical sitting on that big Nyx ult again. You know, Trash might not even be aware it's available. And I'm guessing Safil's got to be their target. And Wolol looking like he's ready to re-enter the fight. Avaki at full health and needs to start dealing that damage. Almost at another Lockwood ult, too.
Yeah, their last known indicator at Nyx is all the way across the map, so they have no idea what's coming here. It's more shielding since he is in the middle of the enemy team. Anatomicals, now they know where he is 20 health only left on Quark. He's in big trouble. Wolol covering most of the map and also preventing a lot of vision here, although the enemy team is spread out enough where they can see a lot. Traps triggering on Keratin again. Looks like a little bit of bouncy damage going off, and the Kranos trying to root Hacksaw just to prevent him from chasing whoever he can. Safil's still doing some healing, and it looks like he will get thrown, so healing was a great choice as he ends up at 2 health but still alive, and with Hacksaw rooted, he can't do anything about it this turn.
Yeah, Hacksaw not going to be able to finish off the Quark. That's got to be so painful. He's so close and so low, but not quite there to finish him off.
He's staring at him.
Meanwhile, Avaki has that ult back up, wanting to disengage engage on the backline, and Craner I'm wondering if Craner wants to go help Safil or do the damage.
Don't blink or you'll
We'll
miss.
find out in just a few minutes, and it looks like due to damage, they want to finish this off with only 1 turn left. They get massive damage on Cranor and Awesome Sauce, bringing them extremely low. Safil's flashing out of the way, doesn't want any surprises, and he'll be safe for the rest of this turn, hopefully, as Hacksaw just tries to stop damage. Anatomical tries to predict the flash, but isn't able to. Awesome Sauce is, but unfortunately doesn't have the damage to be able to turn Safil into just a pile of radiation.
Your feet.
And it does look like they take the victory by the inability to finish off Quark that turn.
Wow, what a game! Look at how high these damage numbers were, and it was only 2-1. You know,
That was due to some really smart play by both teams. Even when people were at 3/4 health, they backed off if they knew they couldn't get healing and support. And their positioning was never in a spot where they had to say, "Uh-oh, I'm in trouble." Both teams were playing really smart around the side, doing massive damage, but always staying enough to really be able to get back up when they needed to.
And point out, Anatomical 507 damage. of Craner coming out with the top damage on Team Trash with it, always in the fight with that Asana. And a couple things I want to point out is it seemed like Just Shoot 'em had the right idea. They got Trash on their back foot. They split them apart, and I think that's what they really need to focus on doing next game is break them from their formations. You mentioned before, Trash is really good at positioning and working together. If you can get them to break apart and focus one person down, that might be the trick they need.
Yeah, early on, they started out very strong and definitely had Trash on the back foot, but Trash was able to rally with the brief cooldown they came when they just weren't able to finish people off. Trash came big up and around the side, and they were able to run away, but a lot of turns they spent running, not doing damage, doing cover damage. If they could manage to keep that early pressure when they started that very strong start, they might be able to turn this around in Game 2.
Yeah, I think it could easily go either way. It wasn't like a clear Trash destroyed them or,
I mean, it was 2-1. Quark lived with 2 health on the second to last turn and 10 health on the final turn, being hit both times. A slightly different Nick shot, and that game goes to overtime.
That was pretty much a 50-50. Anathema could either aim into the fog or behind that wall, and you didn't know where Safiel was going to go. He did the best he could. He couldn't cover both. Very well played by both teams. I'm excited for Game 2. I think Just Shoot 'em has the right ideas to push this into a Game 3.
I sure hope so. I wonder if they're going to adjust in the draft. Or I know that Just Shoot 'em really likes some of their comfort picks. They pick, they really love Gremolitions a lot more than other teams. They really have their favorite characters, and it seems like Trash is a little more free floating in their choices. Will Just Shoot 'em make an adjustment here, or will they keep to doing what they are the strongest at and hope that their strengths on the characters can finish off this match?
Yeah, I think it's hard to pick an MVP that match. Because
it's absolutely hard.
I think it's either going to have to be Craner or Safiel. Craner always in the enemy team doing so much damage, the most team damage on their team as Asana, but Safiel, Trash took a lot of damage. We saw it from the numbers, and they stayed alive except for just one death.
I think the thing that makes it hard for me is these teams were so coordinated. Everything felt like it wasn't just one person making the move.
Yeah.
When Safiel moved to a really good spot, it felt like he had talked over with Ivaki, and Ivaki was moving to the similar spot, and it was both of their moves. I think the same thing. I'm personally leaning slightly towards Safiel in there just because the positioning on him was so good. He was always able to be tethered to the right person, and he knew not to be greedy with that offensive tether and just keep pumping his team up. They were taking massive damage early, and really being able to come back and not lose anybody to that early damage is what propelled them to the victory. That turnaround of that early back foot weakness. So I think I'm leaning as you are, a little bit slightly towards Safiel here.
Yeah,
but
I feel the same way. I think that definitely his positioning a case of rushing Radiate. I know I've talked to them. They're a big fan of the rushing Radiate mod. That's the one, if you don't know, which allows Quark to use his Energize and then still have full movement. So he can do the big heal or he could do big damage and then still make sure he's in the position to keep doing it next turn.
And if you haven't tried that, try that. It's my favorite Quark Radiate mod. And it just, if you're tethered to somebody who's dashing, you can full move with them so you can keep up with dashes. It is amazing, and we saw great use of really everything in their kits of all the characters here today. I expected, and sometimes Gremolitions is a little bit of a counter to that because you can push him away when he's full running, but it seems like they kept a very close eye on when the throws and when the knockbacks were up from Just Shoot 'em, and they didn't make big movements when that happened, just so in case Quark was stuck in a spot, the tether target was still there. They didn't have Quark thrown or knocked back in a spot. You saw that one turn where Safiel moved to the spot he was knocked back to because they expected Quark to be targeted to try and break the tether.
Oh, yeah. And, coming out of Just Shoot 'em, Rask, he was at 4 health. And then a few turns later, 94 health. It's just... We saw a lot
doing Rask things
of people taking close, just random cover damage pot shots at Rask, which really doesn't feel like it's worth it to me.
It builds his energy so fast. We didn't see a lot of big ults from Rask,
but he got 3.
But it just resets his cooldown. Yeah, well, they get so many of them, even if it doesn't hit 3 people. it covers a bit of the map that people can't go into. It resets his cooldowns, and it just keeps him going.
Yeah.
But it kind of showed off a good match here, where Rask has natural healing, so like shields from the bubbles, so his healing can take effect. On the other side, Cranor was on a frontliner that had natural shields, so he likes a support that has healing because he can use the shields when he wants to. He doesn't have the healing in his kit that he needs to come up. And they really very smart picks and bans to be able to match up their supports and their frontliners in such a way that they really play to their strengths there.
Yeah, I'm this next pick in ban phase. We mentioned at the start, it doesn't feel like either team lost that draft. Both teams had such strong team comps and used them well, so it'll be interesting going in to see if we'll see some denial bans or picks. Take the Gremo away from Carrot and take the Lockwood away from Avaki, something like that. But it's just so risky because you take away one of the top picks, you give them the other.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see very similar picks coming out here. You might want to ban out or pick some of Just Shoot 'Em's top picks, but then you have to base your comp. If you pick a Gremolitions, you have to pick them in your composition. If you take that Finn from Safil, you have to use him well in your composition. Otherwise, a lot of these characters at home add a lot of things, so it may not be worth it trying to make your team weaker just to make the enemy team weaker when you may not be actually hurting the enemy team. They may be just fine with it.
Yeah, it's hard to get trash and just shoot them on characters they're not comfortable with. When we talked, I just know from just seeing trash playing and from talking to the players, they're comfortable on a lot of characters. And Hacksaw mentioned it yesterday in our post-game interview that they all have a really deep freelancer pool. They're ready to play anyone that might be open to them.
I mean, that's really, if you guys want to be watching at home, want to see top level play, this is it, and this is what you need to do. Get comfortable with all the freelancers, be ready to play multiple different combinations, and not only that, but know what the enemy can do, know their ranges. As you saw early in that game, and one of my favorite moments from that game was turn 2, I believe it was, Gremolition set out mines, and the other team just danced effortlessly through them. They picked some weird movement patterns, but it was because they knew exactly how far Gremolition's range was, and he placed him on the edge of the range. And so they said, we know that these spots are spots he can have mines. We're going to move diagonally between those spots because he's going to put him out as far as possible, knowing he can't hit us yet.
Yeah.
And it was just such good character knowledge, such good knowledge of this freelancer has these ranges and does this turn 2. And so we can put in these weird movements that are going to make us look like geniuses when we dodge these attacks.
Yeah, I think we are just about ready for the second draft to take place. And, this is going to be Just Shoot 'Em with the pick of the map. I doubt we'll see Flyway. I don't think anyone really wants to play Flyway as much as Trash does. And so, Cloudspire or Evos, I think the best option, in my opinion, is take Evos and try and use it to split Trash apart, because that really seemed to be what was working for them near the beginning of the match, was getting them not near each other, not be able to support each other. Wolo was forced out for a while, Avaki was kept low, and look at that, right into it, Evos Lab, map pick coming out, going into these bans. Who is Trash going to first ban?
Well, this is that interesting map that we talked about, and strategies change a little bit on Evos. There's a lot of similar strategies, obviously, on the two maps with similar shapes, although the smaller size does change things a lot. Certain characters are better, but Evo's definitely the one you can play the most differently on. Looks like they're not going to start out too different, as both Helio and Rask first bans, as we said, that, and you're expecting a Lockwood soon.
Oh yeah.
Other than that,
Just Shoot 'Em not going to give Trash even the chance to pick that Rask. We know Craner and Wolo both very comfortable on him. They swap between firepower and frontline all the time, and it looks like, wow, they really want to make sure they have a higher tier frontliner, just skipping over the Lockwood and taking up the Asana first pick.
Well, that's strong, although Garrison isn't bad on this map, too. You really want either that Garrison or Asana or somebody who can get around these corners because it's very easy to get trapped away from the enemy team with all the walls and small spaces. Another great pick coming out, banned last time, Gray here can cover large areas of this map, and there's certain congregation areas that drone will do work for several turns. But Gray and Lockwood together is some very strong damage from Just Shoot 'em. Very smart double pick to go right in a row. Too strong firepower, so they're not going to let the other team pick either one of those.
Yeah, Trash going to be looking at, I think options for them, Blackburn, Celeste, Nyx, Remo is, I think, that's not the order, but I think that's who they have left in their, these are the guys we want to play pool, and I'd be surprised to see them bother with the firepowers at this point, because, Just Shoot 'em, I'm not going to say they won't, because, people have run weird things before, but they're likely not to pick up another firepower.
And they're definitely taking their time thinking about this one. Now, what would be super interesting if Just Shoot 'em picks up that third firepower of Zuki, they would have an overwhelming sense of firepower. Now that they can't pick up both a frontline and a support then, but man, I'm rooting for something a little unconventional here, as the other team has both a very solid frontliner and a very solid support. Looks like they will go straight for the support, though, in the Aurora pick.
I think that's smart because we've seen teams run double support all the time, and I'm sure Trash would be comfortable with it. So they want to make sure they get it. And Trash coming out with their firepower picks, Celeste and Gremo, not Week's firepower picks at all, especially on Evos.
No, especially on Evos, as we talked about, these corners, these walls are important. I know we harped on a little bit, but these teams are proving it right off the bat. All of these characters, every single one except for Finn, is great around corners, is great around weird sections of the map, and just hitting people from nowhere.
Well, Finn, except for his ult.
Except for his ult, yes. Except for 2 turns a game. But Garrison, he's got the most common... the ranged ability that's up the most often for a frontliner.
Yeah.
That is huge on a map where people can sometimes break line of sight or get away from you somewhat easily, to be able to just every other turn pop off a shot, slow people down, keep them in range.
And he has that, dunk over the walls too, so they can't... Gremo is a little bit less safe trying to hide behind the walls of Evos Laboratory when Garrison can just crash down on him from, half the map away, a third of the map away.
This is an interesting pick, too, because they have a lot of dashing on their team with Aurora, who can throw a heal on somebody, and then if they dash next to somebody, they'll give them a knockback. But Garrison is pretty commonly seen with the root mod on his jump. So do you ignore that combination, focus on just really the healing, the doing damage yourself? Or do you maybe not take the common root mod, free up Garrison's mods a little bit, and sometimes use that combo and rely on that if you really keep somebody in place? But that's something to look out for, is when Aurora throws down her healing on somebody, will they use these dashes to lock the opponent team in place from nowhere?
I'm not a big fan of the root mod on Garrison. It increases the cooldown, and when you have Lockwood traps and Gray walls as potential traps, you don't really want to be rooting them necessarily. I think comboing with the Aurora knockback is a much better idea, and allowing him to have a different mod and spend more points elsewhere.
And they don't really have many movement abilities to throw the enemy team through all these traps that they brought. Normally when you see a Lockwood and a Gray, you're seeing something with either a throw like Rask or a pull like Rampart that can forcibly put people through these traps. But I think that definitely you need some sort of knockback to guarantee that, and that may be what they're relying on.
Well, I want to point out right here, I saw it mentioned before, and I did check, that banner is called Trash Talk, the one Trash is using.
That is a nice touch.
That Garrison banner is apparently called Trash Talk.
That is amazing. I love it when teams put these touches on. The little team spirits, they have their individual icons so you can tell them apart, but they're really showing team spirit, coordination. They're having fun with it, and that's the whole point. Have fun with the game.
Yeah. So
looks like teams are locking in their initial moves here.
Yeah, these opening movements, there's a couple ways you can go. not too much variation on Evo, so you want to make sure Celeste has vision to pick up the power-up, and I doubt we'll see anyone on Trash even bothering to go near it.
Yeah, in casual matches, you see a lot of people group the center. In these team matches, you see a lot of people wait a little bit longer because that is super dangerous to do early. You leave yourself very open. Looks like Avaki has the right idea, though. They don't have sight. But they may hit him anyways.
Yeah, we're seeing Avaki going to do most likely the scouting with the drone, Wally picking up the might, and wonder how long teams once again cut to the same side, so hopefully not too long before the engagement.
Looks like Trap comes out from Anatomical, and the big trap on this map just cuts off such a big part of it. It looks like Avaki does hit Hacksaw, was not dashing away. That'll be healed right back up by Awesome Sauce, who picks up a little extra energy from Anatomical. The bubble from Crano won't hurt anybody just yet, but they do have double bubble, and it will protect some damage from this trap, which is why they can be so offensive, as Keratin just stops any flanking from going on, predicts Avaki's movement, and puts him right in the middle of that drone.
So both the front lines just passing right by, saying a good old wave and hello as they try and dive into the enemy, into their respective backlines. Avaki caught under that gray drone, so that's giving them vision on him already. They don't want to let the Gremmo play it safe and deal the damage from afar, and Craner, not sure what he's going to be doing this turn, but he does have eyes on just one of the enemy team, not counting the front line.
Looks like a little healing coming down, so they won't be dashing with Wololol and Avaki here. They will be doing some damage as they throw up a trap in the center of the map just in case anybody's trying to claim that area. Some revealing going on and a little bit of Cranor and Avaki. Avaki splorts to stop any following, and Anatomical does manage to catch out Cranor in the corner. Big damage from Wololol on Hacksaw, but Hacksaw comes back with a punch of his own. Not doing anything thanks to the healing. Awesome Sauce does add a little bit extra there. Cranor is going to root Awesome Sauce in the trap. Nice combination there as we see that drone hurt Avaki. Keratin's going to help out with a little extra damage, and Avaki's going to go, ooh, I was moving right next to Gray. Unfortunately, Hacksaw getting pushed through all of his mines, going down to half health extremely early.
Avaki landing the classic splort knockback combo, but now kind of caught out. He's looking at two of just shoot him with no one of his team in support. But we saw it a lot last game. We're seeing it more this game. Just that great trap root combo that you see out of Wolo and Craner, guaranteeing that big burst Celeste damage.
It definitely is a team that has a lot of practice together, because that takes a turn of setup before you even do it. You can't just decide, do it this turn. You need to have the right positioning. Looks like Awesome's going to paralyze the rest of his team. Avaki's going to jump out of there. Hacksaw predicted it, so decided to jump on Safil instead. A little swipe from Cranor doing just a little bit of damage. Safil's going to reveal the tricky hunter on the side, Keratin. It looks like the trap from Awesome Sauce just do it on Awesome Sauce, doing massive damage. Wololol continuing with that. Anatomical returning a little bit of damage. Hacksaw is going to add insult to injury, and Keratin's going to continue piling on Safil. Cover damage means not taking too much, but from full health, that's a decent surprise.
Both teams going real hard on the enemy's respective supports, with Awesome Sauce and Safil taking a brunt of the damage so far, it seems, for their teams. But overall, Trash has been dealing more consistent damage across the board, with Wolo already at 142 at turn 5. That's a lot of damage early on. He's landing those traps, he's landing the smoke bombs, and we'll see if Just Shoot 'em can catch up.
Activating catalyst.
Awesome Sauce really low, but they're going to heal themselves back up to 87 with the big heal, and that should knock Cranor back as well. Cranor's going to do a little bit of damage before they're forced off. The eel bouncing back from Keratin to Hacksaw, as Safil set that up very nicely last turn. Hacksaw and Keratin both going to miss there. Anatomical taking some damage from Wololol. Avaki's going to hit both Anatomical and Awesome Sauce, and they're just doing consistent massive damage to this team. Awesome Sauce cannot catch a break.
Even though Awesome Sauce popped his big 30 heal, he's still only at 40 health. Those eels set to bounce off again, but a bit of a victory that round for Just Shoot 'em and forcing out a fin flash at turn 5. So now for the rest of the game, if they can find him, they can punish him, and he has no way to escape. So I think that's going to be their big target now, is to kill Safil as many times as possible, as people want to do anyway.
A lot of the time after he flashes, you'll see a big run at Safil. Looks like he's just doing a short move as Anatomical dashes past to make any damage target back at him. Not going to do much. It looks like they're planning for Safil's move with a nice drone movement. The bounce from the drone turns Awesome Sauce back down to 19 despite all his healing being almost done. Wololo, again, the greedy power-up grabs, bringing him close to ult range, and a lot of movement as they try and chase down Safil.
Wolo just doesn't like sharing, apparently. So now we're looking at Seth kind of low, but Awesome Sauce, even lower, 20 health on that support. Already popped her big heal, but not a lot of options left, but only Craner is chasing them for now, so they might be safe for a couple more turns. Meanwhile, we see Anatomical and Hacksaw got to be looking at that Safil and thinking that's got to be the guy. Like, he's the one we're going to chase after.
Being greedy sometimes okay when you have a turn 7 ult that does so much massive damage. It looks like Awesome Sauce is going to use their flash, and now neither support has their defensive teleport cooldown. Unfortunately, some damage going down on Wololol for some really major health loss there. Anatomical is going to keep on trucking away at Safil, but Safil has plenty of shields as Keratin goes somewhat low due to regular attacks, and now they have to be careful of Wololo picking up the might soon, but Avaki, predicting Keratin's move, is going to get 2 mines down, so we can end 20 damage for just that movement phase.
Now we're seeing more ults starting to come up. We see Anthological landing consistent damage to get his ult early. Wolo sitting on ult, and a lot of people looking real close. Avaki close, Keratin close, but not quite close enough. So this is when kills got to start happening soon. You know, both supports, as you mentioned, flashes are down. They have no more escapes. Can their teams capitalize on that respective disadvantage?
And everybody has to be very scared of the multiple ultimates up now and coming up in the next turn or two. Heals from Safil coming up just to make sure they can position where they want and still have the health to not have to dash out of the way. Cranor dashing through will put Awesome Sauce extremely low. Do they have the heals for themselves? They don't, so they will go down as that ion field was put on Safil. Nice dash by Cranor to get that first blood of the game. Wololo throws the ultimate out, but will not catch anybody. It's okay. It's turn 7. He'll have another one. Trap doing massive damage to Anatomical. Avaki was healed, so it doesn't take much from the return shot. Cranor does end up under the drone, but hey, that's fine by them, as they will move out since they did hit a character that
the
time.
auto follow. So now we're looking at both fire powers on Just Shoot 'em have their ults up. Wolo sadly missing his, but he'll almost certainly have another one this game, as you mentioned. So now it's time. You know, Trash got a kill. Just Shoot 'em. It's time for you to answer back. You know, pick a target, and I'm pretty sure we know who that target is.
Yeah, we'll see now, though, as lots of dashes coming out. Yellow lines all over the map. Anatomical and Hacksaw dashing and ulting out of the way as Wololo jumps out too. Too many ultimates up for this point. That's going to make Avaki really sad, as none of the attacks hit despite covering most of the map. Safil not able to get return damage for the massive that they took. And now going to... Ooh, this is going to be so close, and it does bring them down below. Wall damage. With no further heals, he does go through a 35 damage wall.
Ooh.
And Cranor follows through on the other side. Such a massive ultimate from Keratin.
Great ult from Keratin, taking out, you know, both the supports have... The supports seem to be the focus this time. Both have gone down once. And, oh man, I mean, they did take out Safil, but they wasted a lot of energy. They used 2 ults doing it. But, on the other side, both firepowers of Trash completely whiffed theirs.
Now let's see if Anatomical sees this coming, as Awesome Sauce just puts a little bit of shielding, getting some energy on Hacksaw. Anatomical says, I know where you are, Avaki, but as Keratin moves their drone around just a better position, it does look like Cranor is going to throw the root down on Hacksaw. He doesn't have his jump up soon, so he will be pretty much doing nothing next turn, as he did use his attack this turn, his ranged attack. And Avaki says, I know where you are too. And Anatomical takes 1 extra damage more than they have health, and that's the second kill on the board.
Trash answers back by taking another lead. Hacksaw did have the unstoppable granted to him by Aurora, so not stuck there in the open, but not really in a position to do anything this turn anyway, with his ranged attack down. And Cranor and Keratin are going to have a bit of a race to the health here. Wondering how that's going to pan out. With Cranor sitting on ult, so even though he's kind of separated from his team at any time, he can swing back into the fight.
And that may turn out really well at the end of this turn, as Wololo tries to limit vision and do some damage, throwing down those smoke bombs. Avaki's going to say, I know exactly where you're going to Hacksaw, and predict him with mines. Keratin's going to get some cover damage on Cranor, as Cranor puts that brain juice, so they'll have plenty of options next turn, but both teams meeting up at the health.
Yeah, each team grabbing one of the health buffs, so, you know, even victory on that, but Hacksaw sitting right next to Gremolitions. I'm not sure that's where he wants to be, And Alt's starting to come back again. Craner and Awesome Sauce sitting on Alt. Safil sitting on Alt. You know, things are still going to be big swinging around. And it's interesting to see who the teams are going to engage on next.
Yeah, the Ultimates themselves lean themselves towards blue team here as Cranor can just leave Carradine alone and they can really overpower one side of the map, and you want to create strength differences like this. Leave somebody alone and do a big 4-on-1, which they will be able to get here as Avaki dashes away. Even with the shields, Cranor does some major damage. We'll see how many people get caught in this ultimate. It looks like they do hit Avaki, but did have shields. Wololo takes little damage, and healing on the rest of their team is major. But stealing some buffs and doing damage is Wololo. Safil's going to put an eel down as well, and Hacksaw really took the brunt of that turn.
Wow, big damage coming out from both teams there. You know, good use of the ults from Awesome Sauce and Craner. I don't think Avaki actually knew that's where Aurora would be, so now he's probably pretty unhappy that he got himself revealed and is just sitting there surrounded by the enemy team with, 5 turns remaining on his dash cooldown. I'm interested, will a flash come out? Does he think he can survive it? And meanwhile, the rest of Trash has to engage on this before they can burn Avaki down.
Also, it's going to put some healing on Hacksaw because they have no defensive cooldowns here. Cranor is going to hit them and dive right into the middle while Avaki jumps out with his teleport, and he'll be in cover so they won't have any idea. Hacksaw takes even more damage thanks to these traps that have been on point. Returns a lot to Cranor, though, as they meant to hit Avaki and they had swapped places. So all this damage meant for Avaki, taking Cranor down to 25, but the Wololo damage finishes off Hacksaw.
Oh, no.
And then Safil says, "Oh, you guys are all very close. Did you know that I had my ultimate?" As he pulls 3 members of the enemy team together directly in the center of this 2-wall area.
I gotta say, it was kind of funny that Avaki gets out and Craner says, "No, damage me instead," and just takes all the hits. I mean, I guess it was worth it. They did trade a kill out, but now Craner kind of just sitting pretty low and staring at 2 people just like, "Hi, sorry about that." But the big ult from Safil really throwing Awesome Sauce and Anatomical out of position and not at all going according to plan.
They took a big lead, but they might lose another one here. But these double shields make Cranor a lot more resilient. Did they put the damage they need to on top of this? As Cranor's with that basic attack, you can see why he has so much damage every game, just pounding out damage every turn, despite taking a lot their own. Carradine knows exactly where Avaki went, so does Anatomical, the only stealth spot left nearby. But Wololo's doing these big double fist attacks from the back, just getting so much damage down turn after turn after turn. Avaki's going to get a big double knockback after the group up, and that is some combination play.
Oh, no.
As group them up and knock them apart.
Trash taking a pretty decisive lead, 4-1 here with only 6 turns remaining, and members of Just Shoot 'em not look particularly healthy. Avaki's got to be their target for now, but I don't. Even if they finish him off, do they have enough time to pick up 2 more after that to push things into overtime?
There are only 6 turns left in this game, and they have to keep Anatomical safe. That will be a tall order here. The bubble coming out on Cranor instead of some extra damage. They're predicting he's going to get out of the way. It does look like a lot of prep phase abilities. They want to keep track of Avaki and Cranor, even if they use any special abilities to get out of the way or just some fancy footwork to run away. Cranor is going to try and select the damage, and Anatomical instead is going to hit Carradine, keeping him out in the open and in the corner. As Avaki hits the exact spot Anatomical is going.
Oh my!
Predicts as well for an amazing finish out of nowhere. He dashed. And they both got him anyways.
Wow! The predicts coming out of Avaki and Wololo that entire game with their over-the-wall abilities. Wow, so a very close game 1, and Trash decides not to mess around and takes a solid victory in game 2. Just looking at these damage numbers, only 421, Avaki 328, big numbers. Nice damage. I mean, on the other side, Carradine and Anatomical not dealing small amounts of damage, but they couldn't quite finish anyone off besides that first early catch on Safil. Wow.
Every match, Trash just started out and got better from how they started. They started out weak in the first one, came back to just barely win it. They started out with about even back and forth in the second one, but man, did they step on the accelerator in that second half, picking up kill after kill after kill. in those final rounds with some big AoEs and coming up huge with some great predictions.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to give MVP on this one to Avaki. With his mine placement was so on point. Wolo did get the bigger damage, but Avaki was just constantly dealing it, keeping enemy team revealed, keeping them weakened, just keeping them a bit on their off footing.
Yeah, that was big. Even though he didn't have the super flashy plays a lot of the time, there weren't a lot of big knockback combos. The ultimate did miss because they forced out all the dodges, but it was that little bit every turn. Hey, I am always doing at least 20 damage to the enemy team. I am always weakening them. I am always knocking them back through things. Every turn of the game, he had an effect. I agree with you there.
Yeah. I also just, before we move on, we had a great ult from Carradine early on with that landing a double voltaic cage on Trash for that first blood. It was also a big moment in the game. So well played by both teams, but Trash really coming out of this game to remind everyone why they're undefeated.
So Trash is definitely in the money now, and they're going to play in our finals for first and second place. But it's not over for Just Shoot 'em just yet.
Yeah.
Just Shoot 'em still isn't necessarily out. They still have a chance to play for third place. Fourth place is out of the prizes, so that'll be they still have a tense match they're not out of it yet. They still have everything to play for.
Yeah, even after the finals, the third place match takes place, and that is playing for $100. So definitely check that out once our final game is over. But now we're gonna wait a moment, give the teams a time to decompress, celebrate their victory, and we're gonna bring Avaki in, probably whoever they feel like sending for their interview. But wow, what a set!
What an amazing set of matches. That first game was so close, a nail-biter, and that second game was major good plays on both sides. Nobody played it wrong. Nobody had a major misplay there. It was really how strong are our plays, and then your strong plays were just a little bit stronger.
Yeah, and Just Shoot 'em played a great season. I have strong feelings for them going into the third place match. Definitely don't count them out. And
They look stronger than a third place team has any right to be.
Yeah,
So
I think
they could definitely be third place. Although we shouldn't, there's a lot of other strong teams in here. So whoever they're fighting for third place, it's not guaranteed. They're not fighting a weak team. They still could come in fourth. We'll have to see.
Oh, is this who they sent for their interview?
Avaki's Discord drop. We're having some pretty bad luck.
Okay, so it looks like we're going to be joined by Wololol for the post-game interview. How are you doing, Wololol?
Fine actually.
Yeah?
We had a bit of panic going on, like in the first game. The first game was pretty close.
Yeah, first game was real close.
Yeah, our Discord dropped in the middle. That was some panic right there.
That had to be. I think 2 health was the difference between winning and tying that game. I can imagine without voice chat how panicked you had to be there. How did you keep cool?
Well, I myself put on some music, which helped a lot to calm down. Like, I didn't know Seth had the catalyst in the last turn. I didn't see the lines. It didn't show me, so I was like, oh my god.
Well, it looks like you guys were preparing for overtime, too. 2 of you dashed right into the center, getting ready to deal damage if necessary.
Yeah, we already, thought Seth was dead, and Avaki made a pretty good Lockwood ultimate. His positioning was pretty good.
All right, so we have some questions for you. I'm going to do the first one. What were your thoughts about going into this match? Were you concerned about the matchup, or were you feeling confident going in against Just Shoot 'em?
We were pretty confident. We talked a lot about tactics for the pick and ban phase and what we do. And if you followed how we normally pick and ban, this time it was slightly different. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it worked out. We got some pretty good setups that we feel comfortable on.
Yeah, I want to touch on pick and ban. It seemed to me like both teams had really good draft phases. Either match. The first one I couldn't really decide. You guys drafted strong, but I feel like Just Shoot 'em drafted really strong as well.
Yeah, they also had really good Lancer choices and played them really well. Just a really solid pick phase. I couldn't have done it better myself.
So how did the closeness of that first game affect your pick ban the second phase, the second game? Did you go in with the same strategy, or did you say we have to change something up, or we can't let them have something? how did that first game being so tight change what you did, if it did?
Actually, I feel like we calmed down after the first game. After the big panic and the voice disconnect and us just freaking out, and we still won. So we kind of calmed down and just really chilled and went in the next game and kept the same strategy up.
Something that surprised me in game 2 with the draft going in was you picked Asana over picking up, say, Lockwood. So you valued having that Asana frontline over getting Lockwood or one of the other high tiers?
Yeah, that's the difference this time around. We wanted to make sure to get our normal comp. We played some triple firepower stuff in the prep phase to some success. But we feel like for this tournament, we're going to go solid. We're going to get our best comps, the 1 frontline, the 2 firepower, and the support. Even if we have to not pick the best firepowers.
So looking at the next lineup, the next match coming up, Outplayed versus Guy Logic, how are you feeling about that lineup? Do you think one team has a particular advantage? Do you think it's going to be a real close
And
set?
is there one that you'd rather be playing against, or are you ready for any comer?
We're ready for anybody, to be fair. But no, I think it's gonna be a really close matchup, and I wanna really have a good final game. Like I wanna see some close games for the finals.
Yeah, no offense to you guys, but boy, do I want to see a game 3.
Well, I can't say I want to see a game 3, but I wouldn't mind a game 3.
Yeah, I have to admit, if I was in your place, I'd be going, let's crush them and just secure first place. Come on, guys.
All right. So how does it feel to know you guys are in the money? Like you're guaranteed some money. Does that feel cool?
Yeah, decent feeling.
Sounds great. And do you guys know if you'll be returning for the next league as the same composition, or have you not thought that far ahead yet?
We haven't talked about it, but I feel we're gonna stick together.
Yeah, you guys
Pretty
seem to have
good,
had good
teamwork.
synergy.
Yeah, we get along pretty well. Everybody likes each other. We are making fun of Seth together. It's a fun time.
He is the only one on your team that died game 2. Yep.
Feed us, Seth. Really.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's all I got. Restart, you got anything more for Wooly here?
I think we covered it. Is there any message you want to put out for these teams coming up that are going to play you next, or to the viewers at home that are watching you guys and wishing they could play like you do?
Well, I feel everybody can play like we do if they put enough effort. Coming week, I'm going to put out a lot of guides for you guys to read, and I hope you enjoy them and try to beat us, I guess.
All right.
All right, and do you know whether you'll be putting those out so the viewers can check them out?
I'm going to put them out in the prep phase.
Hey.
Fantastic. So check out prepphase.com, and you'll be able to check out all the guides from these amazing teams that are in the right now. They're in the finals.
Yeah.
Trash is in the finals.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yep. Thanks for coming by, Wool. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you. See you around.
All right. So there we had it. Words straight from Wool's mouth. Trash feels ready for whoever comes their way, and I don't blame them. You know, they
looked sharp. There's nothing in their play to indicate that they should feel scared of what's coming up. I know these are great teams coming up, but you can't get a more confident match than what they just showed us last game.
So, Outplayed or Guy Logic, either one will have their work cut out for them. But that is the set we will see next, coming up on the Prep Phase League Championship Tournament, and that is set for, let's see, it is set for noon Pacific time. So we got about
check your Google or whatever you need to figure out what Pacific time is in your local area.
Noon Pacific time.
PDT is the code.
Yeah.
So 12 PDT.
And
that will be our next set of matches. I also want to mention, congrats to OmniTrust. I don't know if you guys have been following the Trust Wars, and if not, put your banners out. I'm a Warbiotic supporter, but OmniTrust is the first one. They just hit level 3, I believe last night or this morning. So if you guys are following those Trust Wars, show your banners, show your love, and rep your faction.
Evos is love, Evos is life.
Right. Well, to be fair, Wildcarders love Wildcarders life, but that's not a faction.
Yeah. All right.
So,
Well, I think that's gonna be a sign off for now. Restart. Thank you for joining me. You're going to be getting
Thanks
on
for
that
having me.
third place match later in today. Great having you here, and I'm excited for to see how the rest of this tournament goes.
all right, catch you guys later.
We'll be back at 12 o'clock PDT.